equivalent to a movie opening weekend, with 20 or 30 million copies of the book being sold. That's a fairly reasonable opening weekend for a lot of movies. But that, that really doesn't happen except in truly exceptional cases. J.K. Rowling basically, broke the bank on on making a book as successful as a movie. So largely, if you're going to be hitting millions of people, you have to do it with a movie or you have to do it with a TV show. And I think that the best way that I can approach this, having produced a movie before, and let me see if I can get this in front of the camera here and angle it. What you're looking at is an early, what's called a special preview edition of my first movie, which I wrote, produced, and directed, Lady Magdalene's, which is sort of like a subversively libertarian suspense comedy. Very low key in terms of its libertarianism. A lot of people, until they see it, don't really understand it because its main characters are federal agents. So federal agents and the ladies of a Nevada brothel. And you can see where the libertarianism starts coming in for that. But having already produced one movie, having written for television, I wrote an episode called Profile in Silver for The Twilight Zone when CBS put it back on in the 1980s, and my episode was broadcast March 7th, 1986. Profile in Silver, story of a future historian who goes back and stops the JFK assassination. Must be a good idea because that is going to be the plot of Stephen King's new novel coming out in November, which he has titled his story, 11/22/63. Coincidentally enough, my original title for that story was November 22nd, 1963. So there's me and Stephen King, when it comes to this idea. And nonetheless, I've taken my background as a novelist, as a TV writer, as a publishing entrepreneur. My company, first SoftServe and then Pulpless.com, were two of the companies which first made best-selling authors available for download by ebook. And I pretty well described what the Kindle would be back in articles in the 1990s. So I've taken my entrepreneurial experience, my experience as a novelist, my experience in publishing, my experience writing for television, and my experience already producing one feature motion picture. And I've taken that to making my next project, which I want to start filming on this year, alongside Night. You see the poster behind me. So if we are going to get the ideas that Patrick Friedman was talking about, which Brad Spangler was talking about, which everybody at this conference, George Donnelly, has been talking about, we have to find a way to inject it into the mass market. Now, some of these ideas are starting to break out in ways they haven't before. I think the Ron Paul campaign in the 2008 Republican primary got a lot of these ideas out there. The Tea Party movement gets a lot of these ideas out there. Some on Fox News, not everybody on Fox News, but some on Fox News, like Judge Andrew Napolitano, John Stossel, Neil Cavuto, they get these ideas out there. And even once in a while, you find an idea popping up on Bill O'Reilly and Sean Hannity and Glenn Beck, but much less consistently. But they can hear us. In other words, the ideas which were considered ludicrous science fiction back in the 1970s, when this novel was first published, are now considered as part of the conversation right now, not just by hardcore agorists and libertarians, but also by Tea Party people and institutions such as Cato and Reason, and what is considered the crossover between conservative ideas and libertarian ideas. And it's not always a total crossover, but they touch. They do get together occasionally. What can libertarians and agorists do to further this prospect? Well, I'll tell you one thing that I don't think is going to work, and that's crowdfunding. Because the minimum budget we're talking about for a movie like Alongside Night is roughly in the area of $4 million. And obviously, the more money we spend on it, the more options we have for casting and for for various different special effects and getting a little fancier in the ability to film. But roughly for $4 million, I know I can make this movie. Lady Magdalene's my first movie. We made roughly for $500,000. This is a bigger story, and so I think it would take roughly $4 million at minimum to make this movie. But I think we can do it. So crowdfunding, I don't think is going to work for this. But there are libertarians who are rich, because free market economics tends to work. And so if you know of any, send them my way. We can still use some more money put into our funding, so we can complete casting and get our start date, and hopefully film principal photography this year and complete post-production in 2012. That's my goal, to have this movie in theaters, taken seriously in 2012. And whether we would go directly to a distributor or whether we would go through film markets and film festivals first is a decision that we haven't made yet. It's not a decision we have to make at this point. But what we do have to do is we have to get together the resources, and then it basically comes down to two very hard to get things: stars attached to the movie and the money attached to the movie. That's what you need to make a movie. It's an old story that if you're a painter, you need a canvas and paint. If you're a writer, you need a paper or a computer keyboard to be able to write on. And if you're making a movie, you need an army. Not an army necessarily with weapons of mass destruction, but at least what has been termed by some wag weapons of mass distraction. So, Kent, are we getting any questions coming in at this point? All right, so the voice you're going to hear in the background is one of the associate producers of Alongside Night. He was also.
Did you mention Sorbo?
Oh, yeah. Let me mention the stars we already have attached. Thank you, Kent. Hard to keep track in this medium of exactly what you're saying, but yeah, we already have a major star attached in the role of Dr. Martin Vreeland, and that's Kevin Sorbo. A lot of you know him from Hercules: The Legendary Journeys, which was the #1 TV series worldwide. He was also on the TV series Andromeda. And if you just look on IMDb, you'll see he's been in a billion different things, including independent films, movies for television, and guest appearances on a lot of TV series. We also have Eric Avari in the role of Morris Gross. The way that Elliot Vreeland gets in touch with the organization called the Revolutionary Agora Cadre. And you'll know Eric Avari when you see his face. He's been in Independence Day and Stargate and Mr. Deeds and McHale's Navy and Paul Blart Mall Cop. And, he's just one of those actors who, the minute you see his face, you know him. We also have Saeed Faraj, who was in My Lady Magdalene's, but he's also the second face you see on screen in The Green Zone, Paul Greengrass's film of the U.S. campaign in Iraq. And Saeed's just a wonderful actor, and he's going to be playing a federal agent in this movie. So we finally gave him a role where he's not playing a terrorist. And we also have some other actors who I worked with on Lady Magdalene's. We have Mara Marini. She's going to be playing Candy. We have Alex Wraith, who's going to be playing Philip Gross. And we have Mark Gilvari, who played 2 roles in Lady Magdalene's. And he's going to be playing the FEMA director, who is the father of one of the characters. Excuse me. Okay.
Yes. Get Captain Mal from Firefly.
if we could. Now, next voice you hear is going to be Ken Hastings, and he's going to be reading me off the questions.
Well, some people were arguing amongst themselves about government. Okay, thank you, Ethan, for the donation link. Okay, I wrote, seems the actual movie site is down at the moment, so I posted the Rational Review article that says Alongside Night has the...
Okay, I assure you that
RationalReview.com article that points to that thing is up, and I have that linked, but the Alongside Night Movie.com...
Okay, I doubt very much that AlongsideNightMovie.com is down.
Well... you can see for yourself.
Okay, ALONGSIDENIGHTMOVIE.
Yeah, no, I'm not typing anything. I'm going to I did type that originally, but look, it says go to the Alongside Night official movie website. Okay, I'm not typing that. And then it says connection something network. It's screwed up. Whether you do it on www or the other one, so
Okay.
you need to look into that. But anyway, I got this link to the article about it.
Okay, and there is a link from the article, but I'm pretty sure that AlongsideNightMovie.com is working.
Well, you have to take it. There might be some trivial thing going on.
Here's something else you can try. You go to AlongsideNight.net, which is where the free downloads of the book are, of the 30th anniversary PDF edition. We've had, as of this week, around 265,000 downloads of that. And
it says connection interrupted. That one's not working either.
Okay. You know what? It's possible that Pulpless.com, the DudgePepperman.com, basically domain host is having problems at the moment. Try again in an hour. It would, there may be gremlins involved. Maybe federal agents are trying to screw with me.
The rational review thing is working in that.
Okay. In any event, go to the site that Kent put on the chat for rational review, and that'll lead to it. And I assure you that that the websites will be up again momentarily. It's Sunday, so maybe they're doing some routine maintenance or something like that, without telling me. Okay, and next question, Kent.
Oh, well, it seems that some people are getting to it. It may just be internet weather. Sometimes you can't get to it.
Internet weather. Okay,
yeah,
there's a concept.
That happens. Some places can get to it and others can't. So
okay.
That might be the thing.
All right, so some people are getting to it,
yeah.
And that's AlongsideNightMovie.com and AlongsideNight.net. Kent, next.
All right, so some people, that's what I was reading. Some people are working on. Can't hear Kent very well. Well, I'm not talking. You don't have to worry about me. I'm just talking to Neil, and you'll repeat.
Okay, so when there are questions, please remind me to repeat
sure.
them. But, yeah.
Doesn't seem to be any questions. Like I said, there were people talking amongst themselves, and there's people talking about they can't get to the site. So that seems to be okay. So I'm going to just.
This is really going to. This is really going to.
There's really no questions. So go ahead and shout away.
Okay, how are we doing? We have another half hour here.
Yeah.
Lovely. Okay, well, I hadn't really planned to talk end on end for another half hour, but let's see what else I can come up with. Let me tell you a little more about agorism.
Well, this guy, I already told you, Captain Mal. If we could get Nathan Fillion, we would, but we.
Yeah, right now. All right, let's talk. Well, actually, instead of talking about agorism, let me talk about casting. Okay. Kevin Sorbo plays the role of Dr. Martin Vreeland, but the two roles which are crucial for me to cast right now are the role of Elliot Vreeland and the role of Laura Moore, my two 17/18-year-old characters, who are sort of like the two action-adventure romantic leads who you follow throughout most of the story. Now, Atlas Shrugged does not have any teenage characters. Atlas Shrugged has adult characters, middle-aged characters, even old characters, and I've got some of those. But you don't have any teenage characters. And who buys movie tickets? By George, you have a lot of teenagers buying movie tickets. Now, how did this come about that it just happens that Alongside Night is directed toward the demographic which buys movie tickets? Well, that happens sort of, backhandedly by accident, because the novel was written with 17 and 18-year-old characters, and when I finished my first draft of it, I was 22 to 23 years old. I wasn't much older than that, so I was basically, writing of an age of when I sort of started writing the novel, which was around age 19. So in other words, I started writing the novel when I wasn't that much older than the characters who I was writing about.
Well, someone Ethan wants to know about Sec3's life.
Okay, well, Samuel Edward Konkan III, the fellow who's generally regarded as the founder of the agorist movement, was born in Saskatchewan, but grew up in Edmonton, Alberta, actually just outside Edmonton, in Jasper Place. Went to school in Canada through what was considered a bachelor's degree with honors in Canada. Transferred to the University of Wisconsin in a doctoral program, and then transferred from the University of Wisconsin to NYU, where he got a Master of Science degree, and barely managed to escape without getting a PhD, because he did all the work required for his doctorate, and then, having solved the problem to his satisfaction, walked away without ever turning it in. And the reason he did that was because he didn't think he would have the will